So what is the best all-around lens for the Canon M50 or other Canon M series cameras like the M6, M5, or the M6 Mark II? In this video, I'm going to be talking about my new favorite lens, the Sigma 16mm 1.4, and we're going to be looking at some test footage as well as comparing the image stabilization. You can see right now the Sigma 16mm 1.4 footage, which is pretty incredible, the amount of depth of field you get. We're going to be talking about the performance of the camera, as well as if this really is the best vlogging lens for this camera, places to buy it, and some cool places where you can get some extra accessories, as well as image stabilization and even some photo tests and things like that as well. But hey, if you're new to this channel, my name is Sean Cannell, and Think Media is all about bringing you the best tips and tools for building your influence with online video. And I'm excited because these new Sigma lenses have been released recently for basically the Canon M50. And one of the biggest weaknesses of the Canon M50 has been the fact that there hasn't been a lot of lens options for the Canon mirrorless line cameras. And so that includes cameras like the M200 and cameras like that. And there hasn't been a lot of lens choices. Well, what happened was Sigma recently released some very cool kind of a trio of lenses. And one of those includes the 16mm 1.4. Now, this lens has been out for a long time for the Sony cameras, and people love them for cameras like the Sony A6400, 6100, 6600. And so now they're out for the Canon mirrorless cameras, and there's actually three of them. It's my dream to own all three, but I recently invested in the 16mm 1.4. And if you want the punchline of the video, before we get into all the other details and show some various test footage, I think this is a great buy. I mean, it is definitely an investment, but the results of photography that you'll get out of this lens, plus the practicality for creating video, especially from kind of a YouTube context, it's a really good focal length for creating video content by just putting a shotgun mic on the camera and then shooting the content. And so very excited about this lens, but let's dive into a few practical things about it. First of all, as this is kind of my comprehensive review, having tested it now for a couple weeks, this lens is available for around $450. That's actually here in the US what you're going to pay for it. And over on BH, you can see here, it's already getting some good reviews. Hasn't been out for too long. You can see the other lens options too. This is the right in the middle of the most expensive. The 56mm comes in at $479. And however, what's really cool is I think the best place to pick this up is Amazon. And I thought this was kind of cheesy at first. I was looking around and I found this, the only way to get the 16mm 1.4 for EF-M mount, which is going to include your Canon M, M2, M50, M100, right? The only way to get this lens on Amazon, unless you get the international model, which you wouldn't want to get because you're going to not have the warranty. You can see you get the 4-year warranty because this is an authorized dealer. You actually end up with all these other accessories that come with the lens. And so again, $450. So not, a pretty big investment, right? And if you want to actually check out a list to the various places to get the lenses and whatnot, I've put a summary in the show notes below. But what you ended up with was actually some pretty cool stuff. I mean, you have this pistol grip that comes with it. And this is the Canon M50 with the kit lens. You can see how much bigger the Sigma 16mm is compared to this lens right here, right? And this little pistol grip fans out and can become a tabletop tripod and is pretty well built, all things considered. These Atura accessories are actually sold separately for a little over $50 on Amazon. And so you get a pretty cool lens cleaning kit with lens tissues. You get a wrist strap. Not too bad, just kind of a classic black wrist strap, a little bit of purple detailing. I'm pumped because this case itself is actually pretty decent quality. And then you get this airbag situation, which is kind of this thin, this is basically everything you get. And so this, I would say, if you're thinking about investing in this lens, Amazon's the best place to do it. I mean, you've got, you're on BH, you just get nothing, and so you do get some extra cool accessories that I think are worth having for sure. And so from having checked these out, I'm like, hey, nice little bonus on top of what you're going to invest in the lens itself. Now, these days, if you were thinking about picking up a Canon M50, that's already going to run you around $480. By the way, you can get one refurbished for that price over on the Canon website. And again, I'll put a summary of some of the show notes in the description if you want to find these best deals. And so the lens itself is quite an investment compared to the camera. But where I really think this lens shines is maybe you have an M50 right now, and that's the question of the day. What camera are you currently shooting with? Let me know in the comment section. And do you already have the M50? But this lens really is incredible for like the new Canon M6 Mark II. And this is definitely something I think should be in a lot of people's sights for an upgrade, because it's really incredible. It's kind of actually one of the most slept on cameras in 2020. And so even if you have an M50 now and you were to invest in this first, you know that you could carry this with you on your mirrorless journey if someday you wanted to go to the M6 Mark II. And the reason I love that camera so much is because it has uncropped 4K, 30 frames per second, and 24 with the firmware update. It's got, we're looking at the 16mm actually in 4K footage shot on the M6 Mark II. It's also got uncropped, full 1080 slow motion at 120 frames. And there's some examples of some of the photography that this lens will shoot and some of the slow motion. So, I mean, the sharpness of the lens, it's really super beautiful, and just been overall impressed with this lens across the board. You're seeing some of the slow motion here, but let me know in the comments like what you're thinking of the quality of these images. This also shows you, in 1080p, the M50 focuses really well with this lens, in 4K uncropped dual pixel with the M6 Mark II. This lens just focuses perfectly. We found it focuses fast with dual pixel autofocus. I mean, you let me know, but I think the results speak for themselves. The lens is just really, really beautiful. So this is a 16mm, focal length. An M50, all the Canon M series line are crop sensor cameras. So it's not super wide, and we'll talk about that in just a second, compared to, maybe some of the other cameras out there, if you really wanted to vlog. And a couple of the weaknesses with this lens is this lens does not have image stabilization built into the lens, and it's also not weatherproof, which most of us can probably live without that. And so because there's not image stabilization built in the lens, that was kind of one of the weaknesses of using it on the A6400, because the Sony A6400 doesn't have electronic image stabilization. But the cool thing is the M50 and the M6 Mark II have EIS, electronic image stabilization, which allows you to kind of make this lens take it to another level. And so what I want to show you in just a second here is a video I shot for my friends David and Luria at the Live Streaming Pros with the new M6 Mark II setup. And what's cool is a couple accessories I'd recommend. Again, on the M50, you've got the flip screen that flips to the side. This lens is, perfect on here. Mind you, it's pretty heavy and it's pretty big. So here's the kit lens, and here's the Sigma. Nice thing about the Sigma is you can hold it in your palm like this, and it's actually a good way to vlog. I mean, the M50 with its plastic construction is like weightless compared to this lens. The cool thing about the M6, one of the weaknesses people have is like, oh, if the screen flips up like a normal vlog camera, you're not going to be able to put a mic on there. Well, Small Rig has a cold shoe relocation plate here. And so you're able to, just like on the Sony A6400, set up kind of the ultimate vlog rig for, 2020. And so I'm starting to think, especially from Canon, there's no question this is the best 4K, mirrorless Canon M camera now that Canon is putting out. Image quality, it's a pro features. And then photography is also where this camera really, really shines. And so this is kind of the rig I built out. Now, one other recommended accessory no matter what camera you would use this lens on for Canon, is you're definitely going to need a ND filter for video, because at 1.4, especially during the daytime, it lets so much light in. And so I use this fader ND from K&F. This is a different one because Omar's got mine over at his studio. But you want to have that ND filter, which is like sunglasses for your lens. And it's because so much light is allowed in this lens. You're able to kind of control that and keep your video settings dialed in. So that's another accessory that you'd want to pick up to make it perfect. Now, a couple, practical things with this. The weakness of the Canon M line, the M50 line, is native lenses made by Canon. There haven't been that many, and that are very good, and especially ones that go to 1.4 aperture for that incredible depth of field, behind you. If you want to check out a couple examples of, again, the fact it doesn't have image stabilization, this is what it's like to kind of vlog with this lens. With the EIS off. So you can see there's quite a bit of jitter and shake, and we're not even walking. That's my wife and I just sitting there. And, but still usable. People have vlogged that way in the past, but we have the ND filter on there, and that's why you have that beautiful depth of field behind us. And when you're using Canon's dual pixel autofocus, it holds your focus nice and tight. So this is, again, EIS off, and you're able to see Omar here, with the jitter of walking. But now all you got to do is turn on the EIS, and you can see how it removes the shake, right? That jitter that any of us just from holding this rig out in front of us is gone. Now it crops in just a bit, but it's still pretty usable at like a vlogging focal length. So this is what this camera, this lens looks like on the Canon 60 Mark II, actually, in 4K, 30 frames a second. So it's a really good vlogging picture. I mean, let me know in the comments, but it's pretty legit, right? And then there's also an enhanced EIS, not my favorite because it crops in even more, but it'll take out even more shake. And in the past, I've been not a fan of electronic image stabilization because it can kind of warp the image and whatnot, but I think Canon's done a really good job here with that. And so here's the enhanced. Now it's cropped in even more, but you can see it's kind of buttery smooth in terms of there's not a lot of shake at all. It kind of has that float around vibe because of EIS. And so, it's these lenses are very welcome from Sigma because there has not been really high quality glass options prior to them releasing these lenses. And I think the other thing to consider with these, though, and I'm going to tell you what I think actually is the best vlogging lens in just a second. Hit like if you're getting value out of this video. And if you want to see a summary of everything we're talking about, and got a link to that stuff in the description below as well. But, one of the things, and I'm going to pull up some test photos here. One of the things that that I think is important about these lenses is how powerful these cameras are for photography. I mean, you realize you've got a great APS-C sensor in both of these cameras. The new M6 has the largest megapixel count for any crop sensor camera on the market. And man, the photos are unbelievable, crispy, sharp. And so you really could do pro photography. I mean, I would be comfortable taking this for some like wedding photography. Again, this is the M6 with the Sigma 16mm. And I mean, the sharpness is it's just a great lens. The camera nails focus, M6 does. And we just haven't really extensively tested this yet with the M50. We just shot a few video tests and whatnot. But you again have the same results, just not necessarily uncropped 4K or not as large of megapixel photos. And so that's why I want to get the full trio, because these are kind of like a photographer dream setup for the M6. Plus, I would say pro video. You get the 30mm one, whatever it is, 30-ish, and you could get that one as well. Super crispy, super sharp, and And it's cool to see that the autofocus and everything works great. So there's the 30mm 1.4 and there's the 56 1.4. So if you're doing documentaries, sit down videos, professional videos, interviews, if you were taking this to CES, NAB to shoot tech interviews, tech footage, if you're taking it to anywhere, it's just an incredible Sigma lenses. And so really, really cool. Now, hit like if you're getting value. And I just want to kind of cover one other thing. Is this really the best lens for vlogging for the Canon M50? And in my opinion, I actually think no, it's not the best lens for vlogging for the Canon M50. If I could only have one lens to vlog, honestly, to start, you got the kit lens. And just to make a point, the kit lens starts at 15 millimeters with the Canon M50, and this is 16 millimeters. So it's not super wide. That's something to, of course, to remember. When I think about vlogging, you want to have a lens that's potentially wider. This is a great shot for holding it out, and I'm holding it out with like a Joby rig. I've got the shotgun mic, of course, nice and close, but it's not super wide. And so it also costs, $450. So it would almost be a second lens I want in my kit. Whereas the first one I would invest in would be the standard Canon lens, which is I believe it's 11 to 22. The reason this lens I think is still the best lens for vlogging with the Canon M50, the M6 Mark II, is because of how wide it is at 11. You can see obviously the difference in that shot. And you also can see that there's no shake on this shot because that lens has image stabilization built in, and it's got STM motor, so it has a really smooth focusing that connects with Canon cameras. That's what EIS STM means, image stabilization, and then it's the stepper motor. So not only does this lens have image stabilization built into it, but you can also turn on EIS, it'll crop in a little bit, and then you're at a whole nother level of smoothness for vlogging. Plus, you have the fact that it goes up to 22, and that means that you could even crop in, zoom in a little bit, like whip focus in, just like that, and still get a different focal length. And so it's a much more versatile lens. And when we look at this guy, of course, online, this one comes in at $350. And so it's much more versatile, much more all around, starts wider, better for vlogging, right? And a better price to get started. Now, the weakness on that guy, though, is that it's an f4 lens in the aperture. So you start being out at nighttime, or you're not even going to ever get a ton of depth of field with it. It's nowhere near the art lens this is. It's nowhere near the art from photography or from creative video shots, from artistic shots. It's your run and gun daily vlog all day lens. Whereas this guy, again, would almost be the second one I'd want to add to my bag. And what I actually did the other day was I had to shoot a video. I'm speaking at Social Media Marketing World in San Diego, and I sat down with this exact setup, and I had the mic on here, M6 Mark II, with the small rig relocation plate to move the mic off to the side. And at 16 millimeter, it's a great focal length where for me sitting at my desk and just sitting in front of the camera. Of course, the other one could do that as well, but for just having these really crispy shots with the depth of field. So again, a good sit-down YouTube lens, but it's a prime lens, so it's fixed at 16 millimeters. So you don't have the ability to do, of course, micro adjustments for zoom and whatnot. But to get kind of a final idea of what this looked like, I shot this in 1080p, and I shot this for my friends David and Luria on the M6 Mark II with the 16 millimeter. And so again, because of the aperture, I think I probably set it at f2 for this shot, but let's just check this out. Hey, Sean Cannell here, founder of Think Media, and I just want to give a huge shout out and thank you to David and Luria from the live streaming pros. You know, they helped me build my live streaming setup, and from doing consulting with them, man, the impact has been absolutely incredible. So let me just kind of take you behind the scenes and share a little bit about the difference that this setup made in my life. You know, I'm just here in my home office right now. So there you go. You know, that's kind of just holding it out, vlogging type of a vibe. I turned the EIS on, so that was the crop. So I had a little bit of image stabilization with that quick video I was shooting for them. And so really solid. Point is, I think both are incredible. You know, I'm just noticing that you can even grab this Canon lens renewed. So they have a certified refurbished on this guy for like $328. So let me know in the comments, what do you think is the best lens for the Canon M50, the Canon mirrorless line? What do you think about the difference between the 11 to 22? What do you think about the new Canon M6 Mark II? Have you heard much about it yet? I would love to hear your feedback. If you got value out of this video, smash like. Final conclusions, I think, are it's you know, I've been pretty clear, but that I think, you know, I wish it would they've included image stabilization. I think that would have been like, put this lens in a whole nother category. But if your camera does have electronic image stabilization, you can overcome that. I think that because it's 1.4, it's such good glass and creates such an image quality that it makes sense that it's heavy and a little bit bigger than, of course, the much lighter, sort of almost light aluminum plastic constructed Canon lenses. I think that it's when you want to move into a premium dimension for your video production, an extra crispy dimension of your YouTube videos, it's a great lens to invest in. But that if you're just getting started, that just the Canon M50 with the kit lens and then maybe that wide lens are phenomenal lenses. However, if you ever really want to do a lot of low light and keep the lens for those nighttime shots, those travel shots around the fire, or where there's ever low light situations, cities at night, this lens is going to just destroy with the image quality you'll be able to get with that 1.4. Incredible shots, really creative shots. So maybe it's just a definite lens I would highly recommend on everyone's to get list, to invest in someday list. And so the thing is, though, there's actually a lot of good lenses for the Canon mirrorless setup. And if you haven't actually watched my video on the best choices for the Canon M50 and other Canon M line cameras, then actually click or tap the screen to check out that video. And I'm excited to see you in the next video here at Think Media, coming up soon. Peace.
So what are the best lenses for Canon mirrorless cameras? We've been using the M100, the M6, and now the Canon M50. So in this video, I'm going to be covering my favorite lenses for every budget, plus some cool accessories